What's the best investing brokerage in Canada? Actually, which one's the cheapest? Hey guys, it's Adrian here, the Canadian in a t-shirt. And today, I'll do a head-to-head comparison between Wealthsimple, Questrade, and Moomoo, and I'll break down their fees across different categories. Right off the bat, there's no such thing as the best. A hammer isn't better than a screwdriver. They're tools that you use in different areas. It's the same thing with these platforms. I use all three of them for different things. They each have pros and cons, both in their features and their pricing. And that's what I'll focus on today, the cold hard numbers, to see which one wins in each scenario. Wealthsimple is free for Canadian stocks, but very expensive for US ones. Questrade is cheaper for ETFs. Moomoo is cheaper for individual stocks. Small trades, large trades, penny stocks, conversion fees, there's a lot of math to break down. Let's pull up my Excel spreadsheet, glasses are back on, and let's jump in. Let's start nice and easy with Canadian investing. Once we get to the US side, the calculations get more complicated. Don't worry, we'll get there one step at a time. I put a lot of hours into making this Excel fee calculator, so click the link down below to download and follow along. It's totally free. At the top left in yellow, you just enter how much money you're investing and the share price, and everything else gets calculated automatically. I've separated into three columns: Wealthsimple, Moomoo, and Questrade. Starting with Wealthsimple, when it comes to Canadian investing, it's free. No ifs, ands, or buts. Wealthsimple doesn't charge you any commission fees when you buy or sell Canadian stocks or Canadian ETFs. Whether you invest $10 or $10,000, Wealthsimple is free. You pay zero fees, so it easily wins the Canadian category. Now, for US investing, they are very expensive. That's where they make their money. We'll get there, but first, let's look at Moomoo. Moomoo isn't free, but it has super low fees. For most investors, you'll only pay $1.50 per trade, whether you buy stocks or ETFs. That's amazing. In comparison, most of the big banks still charge $10 per trade. Here's the math. Moomoo charges 1.49 cents per share, but with a minimum fee of $1.49. Basically, as long as you're buying less than 100 shares, you'll only pay $1.49. Most Canadian stocks have a share price between $50 and $100. 100 shares would take more than $5,000. The vast majority of Canadians are not investing $5,000 at once. So with Moomoo, you'll only pay $1.49 in fees. If you go above 100 shares, you'll pay more, but still super low. Buying 20 grand would cost you only $3. Note, with Moomoo, the fees are the same for buying or selling and the same for stocks or ETFs. Now, when it comes to buying penny stocks, which I don't recommend, they are incredibly risky and odds are you'll lose your money. But if you do want to buy penny stocks with a tiny share price, say 50 cents a share, there's a different formula that kicks in. That's this middle section here, and you can see the math is a lot more complicated, but it's a good thing. It saves you money. Buying 1,000 shares, instead of paying 15 bucks, we only pay $7.40. Again, this is for penny stocks. It won't affect most of you, but I want to include the formula just in case. Moomoo is new to Canada. A lot of you have never heard of it, so check out my review right here where I show off its low fees and great research tools. That's why I like them. And use my referral links down below for all three platforms to get you a sign-up bonus. So for Canadian investing, Wealthsimple is free, and Moomoo will only cost $1.49 for most trades. What about Questrade? For Questrade, buying Canadian stocks will cost you about $5 for most trades. I've been using Questrade for about 10 years, way before Wealthsimple or Moomoo even existed. Back then, they were the cheapest platform in Canada, by far. Literally half the cost of the big banks, and even better, for buying ETFs, they're commission-free. So on Excel, you'll see two different totals, one for stocks and one for ETFs, which will always be cheaper. With Questrade, there are two types of fees, commission fees and ECN fees. Let's start with commissions, since they're the most important. They charge you 1 cent per share with a minimum of $4.95 and a max of $9.95. For most trades, you'll only pay $5. In fact, as long as you buy less than 495 shares, you'll pay the minimum of $4.95. It's unlikely to buy more than 500 shares at once. That's a lot of money. But if you're making a big purchase, the commission fee is capped. That's good news. If you buy more than 995 shares, the max you'll pay is $9.95. Even if you buy 10,000 shares, you still pay just $10 versus Moomoo, which doesn't have a max. We'll come back to this comparison later. These fees are the same for buying or selling stocks. Now for ETFs, when you buy ETFs, there's no commission, it's zero. This is a huge benefit. But when you sell ETFs, you pay the regular $5. just like stocks. Now, the second bit are the ECN fees. These are tiny fees you pay when you're doing a market order. Usually, they're pennies. You won't notice them, but for large trades, they can really add up because there's no maximum. Technically, you can avoid ECN fees by doing a limit order, meaning you don't buy the stock until it drops to a certain price, but there's no guarantee. The stock might never drop, so your trade will never execute. Sure, you can save money, but it's a risk. If the stock doesn't drop, I'll have to buy later at a higher price. For me, I always do market orders. I buy the stock instantly at market price as soon as I click buy. Yes, I have to pay ECN fees, but we're talking pennies. The ECN fees are $0.0035 per share. Now you add these ECN fees with the commission fees and you get your total. Remember, for ETFs, there's no commission, so you only pay ECN fees. Barely anything. Now let's do a comparison of Questrade versus Moomoo, starting with ETFs. Questrade will always be cheaper than Moomoo, whether you buy 1 share or 1,000 shares. For ETFs, you just pay ECN fees with Questrade, no commission. So it's just 0.35 cents per share. For Moomoo, you pay 1.49 cents per share. So it's always going to be 4 times higher. Let's look at VFV, an ETF with a share price of $150, and let's buy 10 shares, a reasonable amount of $1,500. With Moomoo, we pay the minimum, $149. With Questrade, we only pay 3.5 cents. Now for a huge investment of $150,000, that's 1,000 shares. Moomoo will cost us $15. Questrade, only $3.50. Bottom line, for Canadian ETFs, Wealthsimple is free. Questrade is almost free, and Moomoo is third. Now for Canadian stocks, Moomoo will usually be cheaper because of that lower minimum. Let's look at BMO stock with a share price of 140. 10 shares, that's 1,400. Again, Moomoo costs the minimum, 149, and Questrade will cost about $5. The $4.95 commission plus ECN fees. What about 100 shares? 14,000. Again, Moomoo only costs 149, and Questrade costs a bit more at $5.30. Now, for huge investments, 1,000 shares. Questrade takes the lead because of its max limit, $9.95 commission plus $3.50 ECN for a total of $13.45. Moomoo has no limit, so it actually costs more, about $15. So for ETFs, Questrade is always cheaper. For stocks, Moomoo is usually cheaper, but for large purchases, Questrade wins. The magic number is 434 shares. That's where they both cost the same. Below 434 shares, Moomoo wins. Above it, Questrade wins. For penny stocks, the rules are different. If the share price is less than $1, Moomoo has that complex formula here. But Questrade also drops its ECN fees by a lot, down to 0.08 cents per share. Feel free to play around with the numbers, but again, you should avoid penny stocks. Most of them look like this. Be careful. To sign up with Questrade, use my referral link down below to get a $50 rebate when you sign up. I have a new custom landing page, and if you want to be extra safe, you can manually enter my offer code, Canadian T-shirt, to make sure you get that bonus. Now it's time for US investing. This is where things get interesting. Clicking on the second tab on Excel, there's a lot going on. For US investing, there's 2 parts. First, we have to convert into US dollars, and we pay conversion fees. Once we have US dollars, then we pay commission fees to buy those stocks. Let's start with the conversion. This is where Wealthsimple falls apart. Wealthsimple is fantastic for Canadian investing. It's free, but I do not recommend them for US investing. They are very expensive. I made a whole video on why I do not use Wealthsimple for US stocks. Please check that out. Link down below. I go over my numbers, and if I used Wealthsimple for my US portfolio, I would have lost thousands of dollars in conversion fees. Moomoo and Questrade are much, much cheaper. Let's see. To convert Canadian dollars into US dollars, or vice versa, Wealthsimple charges you 1.5% every time. This is massive, and you can't avoid it. Even if you're a premium user, or you paid their $10 monthly plan, you still pay this 1.5%. every time you exchange currencies. Converting 1,000, you pay $15. 10,000, you pay $150. What about $100,000? You pay $1,500 down the drain. Looking across, you'd only pay $90 to Moomoo or $70 to Questrade. 70 versus 1,500, Please don't make this mistake. Use Wealthsimple for Canadian stocks, no problem, but not for US ones. Back to Excel, I want to point out a few things on the US tab. For all these calculations, I'm using an exchange rate of 0.72, fairly average for the past year. I'm entering the purchase amount in Canadian dollars and the share price in US dollars. You'll see the Canadian amount beside it. Now for Moomoo, converting to US dollars is incredible. On that alone, it's worth signing up. You don't pay a 1.5% fee. You only pay 0.09% plus a $2 flat fee. In Canadian, that's $2.78. Looking at these numbers, it's literally 15 times cheaper than Wealthsimple, and the conversion is instant. Here, if you're converting above 100K, the formula changes slightly, but not by much, an extra dollar or two. Now for Questrade, you can choose to convert the same as Wealthsimple and pay that 1.5%, but don't do that. Instead, use NORBERT'S Gambit to avoid currency conversion fees. That's what I've been doing for years, and it only costs me $5 to $10 instead. But keep in mind, it won't convert instantly. You have to wait 2 to 3 days to process. Watch this video for a step-by-step tutorial on how it works. Basically, you're going to buy shares of a special ETF called DLR. This just tracks the US dollar exchange rate. Then you journal them over into the USD version, DLR.U, and then you sell that in US dollars. Now you've got USD without paying a percent-based conversion fee. You essentially pay a fixed fee around $5 to sell this ETF, plus the ECN fees. Note, this $5 commission is in USD, so we convert back to Canadian and add it all up, you get the total here in purple. We'll get to commission fees in a bit. First, let's compare all three of them for conversion fees. Wealthsimple is by far the most expensive. That 1.5% fee is huge. But for tiny amounts, it can work because there's no minimum fee. Moomoo has a flat fee of $2, so the break-even point is $197. Less than that, Wealthsimple wins. Above $200, Moomoo wins by a landslide. Questrade has a flat fee of $5, so the break-even point is $476. That's where they'll both cost the same, about $7. Remember, for small amounts, you can convert instantly and pay the same 1.5% fee for both Questrade and Wealthsimple. But for larger amounts, above 500, don't do this. Use NORBERT'S Gambit and you'll save a ton of money. Wealthsimple doesn't support NORBERT'S Gambit, and they probably never will. These conversion fees are how they make money. Let's say you have $20,000 to convert. Moomoo and Questrade will cost about $20. Wealthsimple costs $300. Sure, you save $5 on commission fees, but you lose $300 to convert. Don't make this mistake. What about Moomoo versus Questrade? They're pretty evenly matched. Moomoo will be cheaper for small amounts, Questrade wins for large amounts. And Moomoo is instant. You don't have to wait 2 to 3 days. The break-even point is $33,800. They'll both cost you about $33. Wealthsimple would cost $500. Above this amount, and Questrade takes the lead. Both these options are way cheaper than converting at a bank or a third-party service. Bottom line, for everyday Canadians investing, say, $1,000, Moomoo is the cheapest for US stocks. But if you have a giant lump sum, say an inheritance of $50,000, then Questrade is the cheapest. We've covered conversion fees. That's the main cost, but we also have commission fees. These are similar to the Canadian side, but some differences. Once again, Wealthsimple doesn't charge commission fees. You just pay the conversion fee. For Moomoo, it's the same structure, but different rates. You pay 1 cent per share with a minimum of $1.99, and these are US dollars, so we convert back into Canadian here. For most trades, you're buying less than 200 shares, and so you'll only pay $1.99 USD or $2.76 Canadian. Once again, for penny stocks, I included the alternate calculation here. Finally, we add up the conversion fee and the commission fee, $1.99, and we get our total fee in Canadian dollars. Now for Questrade, things are a little different on the US side because there's no ECN fees, usually. Now, if you're a day trader and you want to specify the routing method and the exchange, then yes, you pay ECN fees of $0.004 per share. This won't affect most of you, so I'm including it off to the side, under special cases. I've been using Questrade for a decade, and I've never paid a penny in ECN fees for US trades. That makes the math easier. And with Questrade, remember, you don't pay any commission fees for buying ETFs. So on the US side, ETFs are totally commission-free. No ECN fees, you just pay the conversion fees. So your ETF total at the bottom will be lower. Now for stocks, you do pay the regular commission fees, usually $5, and this is in USD. Same as before, it's 1 cent per share with a minimum of $4.95 and a max of $9.95. So for 500 shares or less, you only pay $5, or about $7 Canadian. For 1,000 shares or more, you pay $10, or about $14 Canadian. Let's cover the special cases. We already covered the US ECN fees. This only matters if you specify the routing, so don't worry about it. Now for Moomoo and Questrade, when you sell a US stock or ETF, you'll pay a tiny amount of SEC fees. These are tiny. It's 0.00278% of your purchase. For a 20K investment, it'll only cost you 40 cents. And this is only for selling, not for buying. Now on Moomoo, there is an additional trading activity fee, again when selling, and it's even smaller, literally 2 cents out of 20 grand. I just included these special cases so that this Excel calculator will be 100% accurate and precise. Before we do the final comparison, make sure you use my referral links below to sign up to each of these 3 platforms. For Moomoo in particular, I was able to negotiate a fantastic bonus for you guys. Deposit $5,000 and get a $300 cash bonus. And if you transfer from your bank or brokerage, you get an extra $200 when you transfer at least 10K. That's free money, so take it and invest it. Plus you get a 6% savings rate on your cash and save up to $2,000 on your commissions. This is the best sign-up bonus I've seen, so use my link below. So putting it all together, conversion fees and commission fees, which one is better? For US investing, Wealthsimple is the worst, by far. Now, Moomoo versus Questrade, it really depends. For most cases, Moomoo is the cheapest when converting to USD, but for large amounts above 30,000, Questrade is the best. Now when it comes to buying, Questrade is free for ETFs. Buying stocks, Moomoo is usually cheaper, except for very large amounts. I can't give you an exact break-even point like I did before, because these US fees depend on the conversion, the share price, and the number of shares. But here are my general takeaways. For US ETFs, Questrade is the winner, especially if you already have USD. If I receive a dividend, I can buy an ETF for free. Now for US stocks, Moomoo is the winner. Most of the time, Moomoo only charges $2, whereas Questrade charges $5. But for large amounts, Questrade has a cap, $10. Moomoo doesn't. And NORBERT'S Gambit eventually becomes cheaper. So if you have a large sum, say 40,000, then Questrade is the winner across the board. I know it's a lot of information, so let's summarize with 2 easy tables showing gold, silver, and bronze. For Canadian investing, Wealthsimple is always free, so it gets the gold in every category. For ETFs, Questrade has no commissions. It gets the silver. For stocks, Moomoo costs just $1.50 for most trades, so it gets the silver. Now for large amounts above 500 shares, Questrade wins second. Now for US investing, Wealthsimple is too expensive. I'm not even giving them a bronze. They get a red X. Don't use them for US. For ETFs, Questrade wins gold. For stocks, Moomoo is the cheapest. They get the gold. But for large amounts above 40K, it goes back to Questrade. This video, I was just talking numbers, the cost for each. You also have to consider the features of each platform. I'll make that comparison soon. And stay tuned for more brokerage reviews coming up. I already have a playlist, link down below. You don't have to stick to one platform. I use all 3 of them. They each serve a different purpose. To sign up, make sure you use my referral links below to get that bonus. So thanks everyone, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of The Canadian in a T-shirt. Bye guys.